You are a blessing.
But you say it, say to them, say it.
No, you don't even know it.
Come over one. You can sit there. Yeah, they're not gonna make it. Speak about EBM in general, also what's
Yeah, I came from, I went from Kigali to Lagos. So, yeah.
full ring. Falls in moderation.
I was I kind of always moderate. So. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. This is a joint press conference. As you all know, Jidenna, the gentleman there at the center for those is in town for the blankets and wine and the Astros. Happening on Friday and Sunday, respectfully. We are not in the order to mention them. And this press conference is purely to communicate what to expect, but also I know a lot of people have been asking, when is Jidenna in town? And so those are some of the questions that you'll get answers to today. So I'll start by introducing our panel. before us, we have some of our partners and sponsors for the two events, respectfully. We have, starting from here, from, just a sec. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. This is live, so we can't do anything wrong. So, we have Mr. William Nkongu from representing the Serena Hotels, where we currently are, and I think Jidenna has been enjoying himself. Then we have Ms. Giselle Mtunzi from House of DJs stroke Blankets and Wine. Then we have Mr. Ali Alibai from Talent Africa Group, the CEO. We have Mr. Brian Ahuza from the Abrams Fashion Awards and the Abrams Collection. Then we have Ms. Kathy Tuesday from Tasker Mall Plaza. Then we have John Paul from Capital FM. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the partners that have gone with us on this roller coaster to bring Jidenna to you and give you the concert of your life. Well, on the Friday and the Sunday. So, give them a big round of applause, please. Thank you. I thank you all for coming and for, we were supposed to start at 6, but we really saw Jidenna that
I was on a boat, a Mavuli boat,
yeah.
Lake Nalu Valley, and I didn't want to come here, okay, to be honest, 100%. I apologize for keeping you waiting, but it's the only time in my life I've ever been on that lake. It's one of the most amazing lakes in the world, and I was with my friends who have never come as well. I have 4 mics, so you have to hear me when I say this. It was a majestic time, so I apologize for keeping you waiting, but I think that you all, as human beings, will understand. And I also know that I'm able to live a privilege and a blessing to be in your country and be hosted by such great people that are beside myself to even have that experience. Me, as somebody who did not grow up with a lot of money, when I moved, especially when I moved to America from Nigeria, I understand what it is to just have a simple cruise on a lake. I don't take it lightly, and so that's why I'm late today. But I thank you so much, and I appreciate you, my friend, for initiating this conference. So I'm excited to hear what everybody has to say.
Thank you. So we'll start with a word from the Talent Africa CEO, Mr. Ali Alibai.
It's a bouquet.
The 3 mics are all yours.
Hi guys. I'm just gonna hold one because I don't have big hands like Jidenna. As Talent Africa, we're super excited to have Jidenna here in town and to be the link that put this Jidenna 85 to Africa tour together for Uganda. It's not very often that we can have 2 great events collaborate on having the same artist, and many people have asked how that's going to work and everything, and we're going to show you this weekend that it's going to work because the events are completely different and they have completely different vibes, and we're really excited to have Jidenna perform at both of these events. As the ASFAs, we're an official partner as Talent Africa, and with Blankets and Wine, we work as their booking agent, and we're really happy to be putting this together. We need to thank you guys, the media, for all the support that you've given us throughout this campaign so far on both the events, and we look really forward to having big crowds at both events and amazing events. I just want to thank a few people on some of the ASFA sponsors. There's a lot of them. We need to thank Ciroc, Plascon, South African Airways, Isuzu, NTV, Capital FM, Schweppes, Imagine Designs, Graphic Systems, AGC Red Carpets, Fireworks 7000, Reach a Hand, Spectrum Restaurant, Mac Cosmetics, Spice TV, JMM, Serena Hotels, Fenon, Big Coconut, and Uber for coming on board and supporting the event. And a lot of people are asking why we have Jidenna here so early, and the reason is because we're taking him on a vacation. He's going to come here to see our beautiful country and see what Uganda has to offer. We've been talking about it a lot with his team, and he's going to be going to Nile River Lodge at Merchants Falls National Park, where he's going to be spending a couple of nights checking out going on a safari, going on game drives, seeing the falls, hiking to the top of the falls, and just doing a lot of amazing stuff. And he's been busy on tour, so hopefully he gets a few days just to relax and take it easy before he gets back to town. And then we have two big events ahead of us. I also need to quickly thank some of our partners on the tourism project. That's UTB, the Ministry of Tourism, Nile River Lodge, and the Mavule boat, where he just had a boat cruise. Thank you guys all so much for the support. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Brian. There you go.
Thank you.
Hi guys, thank you so much for coming. I'm speaking on behalf of the Uganda Talent Fashion Awards. Of course, we're excited to have Jidenna, mainly not because of his music, but because of his style, us being a Talent Fashion Award platform. Yeah, we love his style. We're excited to have him to see him perform. Yeah, our theme this year is the stars. When I had a chat with Ali and I was asking which artist is fit for this, he was like, yeah, his music, his passion. So let's do it. So we're really excited, and thank you everyone for coming, and yeah, let's have a good show.
Thank you. I'm gonna have someone from House of DJ. So, Francis and Wayne.
Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you to Jidenna for being here. I'd like to thank everyone and also thank our main sponsors, Custom for already represented on this table. I'd like to also thank Rock Telecom, Stanbic, Kampala and Coca-Cola for sponsoring the biggest event yet in Uganda. And yes, we are very excited to have you. Blankets and Wine will happen this Sunday. It's a fun and relaxed event that happens 3 times annually. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. So we'll just quickly have a word from representative from Tasca. Okay.
Okay, I thought the mics were moving too.
Oh, yeah.
All three mics.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
She knows.
Yeah, an MTV, yeah, good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize, I have to read something because I don't want to misrepresent anybody or forget anything. So when I look down, it's not that I'm shy, it's just that I have to make sure I don't forget anything, yeah? So firstly, we are excited to host Jidenna for our 24th edition of Blankets and Wine. This is the 7th year in a row that we as Tascamont have been part of Blankets and Wine. And if all of you know what Tascamont is about, we are about bringing fun music experiences to our consumers out there. I think we've given a stage year after year for Afro music acts to actually come up there and show what they're made of. And this 2019 being the biggest and the best year as Tascamont, we decided, why not bring the finest? Why not bring somebody who is right now Africa's finest, who resonates with Tascamont, which is also Africa's finest. I don't know you people if you're very conversant with the brewing process, but when you say a beer is made of 100% malt, that means that's the finest that you can ever get out of a beer. No additives, nothing else is 100% malt. So the finest recognize the finest. And if you look again at what Tascamont does, is we are into fashion, we are into bringing cool things for people. We resonate very well with Jidenna and Blankets and Wine, and we're very, very excited. And this time round, if you come, and if you're planning to actually come for Blankets and Wine, we have a revamped set for Tascamont Lounge. You should be able to chill out there, not just only within there, even Jidenna in the backstage where you go there, you will find something very laid back, specially made by Tascamont, because we don't settle for less. We keep it 100%. we keep it real, we keep it 100% African and living. And as you go out there and enjoy your Tusker malt, please remember to drink responsibly. I have to remind you of that. And at the end of whatever it is that we're saying tonight, we have a small token of appreciation to Jidenna that we are handing over to him and his crew. Oh, Juliet, you decided to bring it. So, it is something small. We appreciate the fact that Uganda is cold at this time of the year. So as you enjoy your cruises and move around,
Oh, I needed this on the boat. Where were you?
so as you enjoy the rest of your cruises,
Yeah.
we have decided to give you a blanket to
Yeah.
keep you warm, courtesy of Tusker Malt.
All right.
So,
Thank you very much.
okay.
Appreciate you.
And then we also know that our power source out there is not that good sometimes, yeah? So you will need a charger. It's a wireless charger, so you don't need
True.
to move with anything. Just move with your phone and the wireless charger, courtesy of Tusker. So enjoy Uganda. That is our courtesy, and that's what the finest does.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. So, Jidenna, I see up there is another update for Instagram stories. Thank you.
Thank
So, now we'll move on to.
We have that for his crew too. So
Oh,
once we're done,
awesome,
we have
guys.
everything for your
The
crew.
crew is in the house, by the way. Are you guys just stand
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Let's go. Yo. Keep it 100. Right, a good time on the board. So now we'll have a representative. Sirok sends his apologies, but as you can see, they are proud sponsor of this event. We'll have a representative from Capital FM. Can Paul please say something? And pass him all the 3 mics, please. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. All the media houses which are here, by the fact that we're a media brand, I think it should be one of my first points to make forward. Secondly, I'd like to say thank you so much, Talent Africa and ASPAS for believing in Capital Radio to bring out such thing to the audience. And thirdly, I'd like to welcome, as Capital Radio and on behalf of the team, we are so delighted and with much pleasure welcome you to the Pearl of Africa. Welcome, Jidenna, to the Pearl of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the number one brand that has existed for 25 years is Capital Radio. And wherever we associate to something, it means something big, it's an experience. So Jidenna, Capital Radio is the biggest radio station on the land for over the 25 years it has existed. So with that, there is no doubt that we have not done what we are meant to do. So it's a national radio station, and we believe people are going to come from across all towns because we broadcast in all towns. That is Gulu, I will need to find time to get to Gulu, Barara, Poto, Arua, Mbale, we are everywhere. So we believe that as Capital Radio, our objective for coming through for this year's ASPAS, we have done our best to reach every point and the niche of whatever we feel that we are meant to make sure that get to know Jidenna is in the country. Lastly, I'd like to say we still have more tickets to give out on Capital Radio now that the big man is here. So all our viewers, and you just keep tuned to Capital Radio. We have lots of tickets for you from ASPAS. So get ready for Friday. All is ready. And being the hashtag for this year is the stars. That is the theme. So today I'm very sure you'll come through to the premises of Capital Radio, and you'll also be meeting the stars. So I don't know if you've heard about any star, but we believe you will meet the lucky and the eternal, and of course glad that we are willing to welcome you in a very, very special way. So we look forward to see you at Capital Radio. And I would like to say thank you so much. Let's catch up on Friday this week. Thank you.
Thank you, John Paul. Let's please pass the mic to Mr. William from the Serena, the prestigious 5-star global Serena Hotels. think a number of you saw the footage that leaked of Jidenna shooting groups with the kids. When it was here at the prestigious Serena Chico, he's having a good time. He's still with me. Please, you have the platform.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is William Mpungu, and I'm representing Serena Hotels. I would like, first of all, and once again, welcome Jidenna and your team. No doubt you had a great time staying with us. I don't know whether you had a chance to get hold of a golf club and hit some few golf balls off the tee. And if you haven't, it's not too late to do that. When we talk of fashion and style, golf comes in right handy. And where we are, this is the golf club. And at Serena, we believe in giving a holistic hospitality service to the market. So, welcome you again, and it's a pleasure again to partner with Talent Africa and Brand. Maybe this is the 4th year running, and it's because of the style and fashion. And in Serena, we believe in style and uniqueness. So, whoever walks out of our gates will go with a different and unique story to tell about Serena. I know you'll be moving to Kampala, Serena, where you'll be staying for a couple of nights. Again, we'll come you there. And please, after your shows, if you feel like staying or extending your stay, please come back. This is your home. We'll come up with special festive family and video packages which you can benefit from, and also the entire public. So this is your home. Welcome you, and I wish you the rest of stay in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So, we'll now hear a word from the main event itself, the reason we're all here. Please. But I think the first thing you clarify to the press is how your name is pronounced, because you've been quite a number of debates. Thank you, Jidenna. All the nights,
I want all of them.
this is an auspicious occasion.
I like this. Everybody should be able to hear me now. I hope so. You said clarify my name. Jidenna. Jide means to embrace or to hold. Nna, in the Igbo language where I'm from in Nigeria, means the father. So Nna, Jidenna. That's how people say it. But I really don't care how you say it. You can say Jidenna or Jidenna, or even in America, some people are like, hey man, you Jedediah, Jedediah. It don't even have that many letters in it, but it's okay. I don't care. What I do care about while I'm visiting your wonderful country, and truthfully, visiting a few cities in it, because I know the country is larger than the cities. And the land may be bigger than the people, but the land will not ever be bigger than the people that garden it and take care of it. I care more about each and every one of you than I do than the land that I walk on or than the animals that graze it. Because without you, these things will not exist, especially because of the damage that's been done around the world. So I think that it's our challenge and our chance as human beings to take care of ourselves first and foremost, so we can take care of the wonderful land that God gave us. So that's what I care about. That's what I want to learn while I'm in Kampala, in Tebe, anywhere else. That's what I want to learn. As you can hear, my team is having fun outside. That's because it's been a wonderful welcome to be here. I know, just off reading your news, off reading your history, that this land has great beauties, and it also has challenges like anywhere else in the world. And it brought to life the story that my father used to tell me when I was a little kid. and he told me about the importance of focusing on the culture of a land and not trying to imitate anybody else for clout. There are three wise men by the name of Migos, three wise philosophers by the name of Migos who hail out of Atlanta, Georgia, where the 85 highway, which I named my album after, stands. And they have a line that says, you do anything for clout. They do anything for clout. Clout as in the fame. Clout as in how many followers you have. Clout as in who you're standing next to on a picture. The reason why I bring it up is because we as Africans have a thing for clout. We have a thing for going for the thing that makes us look like we're valuable. The only thing that will ever make us look like we're valuable is our culture. My dad used to tell me a story because he was a village boy. He's a bushman now. Where he come from, nobody they go to MIT or states like universities like that. He didn't. He went to that uni specifically because of his passion and his determination to bring technology to Nigeria and to Africa at large. My dad used to tell me a very simple story. He said, in the village, there is one hut that is on fire on one side of the village. Let's say the west side. And that hut is burning for days. And then 100 village people line up from that side to the other side of the village where there is a well. The well be there. The well is there with plenty water. But it needs 100 villagers to go from one side to the other side. So, pass by pass, the pail is taken from the well to the top, and that is passed from 98 people until it gets to the other side. And then one person puts out the fire with the buckets. He said, my son, when you wake up in the morning, who will be on the headline news? How many names? And I said, well, Dad, one or two names. Probably the one that picks up the pail from the well, and the other one that douses the fire with the water. He said, yes, my son, but 98 names will be left out because that is not how the world works. But never be the one that cares about the clout on headline news because of who you stood next to. And that is a message that I want to share with you. As you grow and progress as a nation whose crane is in the middle of your flag with one foot up with forward progress, as you progress, never worry about the clout. As you progress as individuals in the creative industries and media, as many of you work, in corporate sponsorships, in banks, in different parts of this country and abroad, it's important that we never worry about the clout, the fame. We only worry about the culture. And that's what I'm here to do, and I hope that every day I'm filled with the culture of the Ugandan people. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Very eloquently, Jidenna, as you put it. Thank you. I think now is the appropriate for us to take some questions from the press and media.
I got four mics, baby. I got four mics. Which one do you want? Which one? Yeah, you pick one. Right up.
I'll take some questions now. Any questions from the press and media? Remember, these are two events. Don't take one and don't take the one and to ask questions. Yes, the lady. You had a question? You had a question? Okay.
Hi, my question is for the Black and White President. How do we get tickets to the show on Sunday?
I'll make sure everyone gets this right. You can get the tickets, the physical tickets at Kenji's, which is located in Kololo, and Grand Garden in Muyenga. In partnership with Stanbic, you can get the ticket at a discount if you pay via Visa at 80,000 instead of the usual price of 100,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the press? Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm Jidenna from NTV Uganda. I'd really like to know from you, you've spoken very passionately about your father, but I'd like to know what influence was he to you in regards to your sense of style, and how just powerful is fashion to an artist?
My father had a fresh beard. His beard was nice. It was 1970s when he used to sport it. He had like funky pants and a three-piece suit. When I grew up in the 90s, and when I was alive as a little boy, my father had a stroke, so he was disabled. He used to use a cane to walk around. So that like three-piece suit that he wore in the 70s, the beard and the cane, does it sound familiar? So he influenced my style. For you, it was a dandy fashion. For me, it was my way of grieving my father's death. It was also a way that in America, when I didn't have money, you could always go to a cheap thrift store and get secondhand clothing. And usually, people threw away suits because it wasn't popular. So I took a suit, and because I'm African, I'm Nigerian, you know, we have tailors readily available, more so than even in America. And I took it to a tailor, and I'd make fresh things that look like they cost $100,000, and they cost like $50. So that's the influence my father had on me.
Thank you.
Yeah, the second one was in regards to, as an artist, just how important is fashion to an artist?
As a human being, fashion is everything. There's a gentleman next to the speaker back there, next to the door. He's wearing a blazer with a white shirt, and he has something on his lapel, next to his lapel. I know by that he's in uniform. If a soldier walks around in Lagos or Kigali or Accra or Cairo and they have a beret on, I know they mean business. You understand? Everybody, even if you're Steve Jobs and you wear a turtleneck and jeans, or you're Zuckerberg and you say, I don't care about fashion, but you wore a gray shirt and jeans today and some sandals on the airplane. That means you want to say, hey, I'm wealthy, but I don't need to dress like it. That's how comfortable I am with my success. Fashion always means something. You can't even get away with it. Unless you're naked, I mean, in that case. But even that is a statement, right? So no matter what, that's what we are. We always make statements with what we wear. It's an expression of ourselves.
Thank you. I think you got your pardon. Style is an attitude. Don't wait for money to make it up. Yes. Okay.
Hi, Jidenna. I'm Case from NGS and Uganda's leading news entertainment bulletin. Probably you will bear with me a few questions I have to ask you. Two. Jidenna,
Hustler. Hustler.
Why did you have to relocate from Nigeria to America?
I was 6 years old when I moved from Nigeria to America.
Okay. Why?
Why? It was it's a longer story, but honestly, it's just because my family at the time thought that, you know, they wanted to make sure they raised me for the first 6 to 7 years in Nigeria to have a certain mind state, so that when I went to America, whether it was for school or for different opportunities, which there are also opportunities in Nigeria for the record, but different ones, they wanted to make sure that I went there early enough.
Okay. You have a beautiful song, That Valley. In Uganda, it's like you pleading, or you're concerning someone.
Yeah.
What does it mean in your language, probably?
My language, it means a deer that Disney made, or what the Italians say as baby. So, Igbo language, it doesn't have a meaning. In English, the English meaning is based on the Italian meaning. So I took it to mean like, it was a nickname I gave to a woman who was my dear. So instead of calling her my dear, I called her my Bambi. And that's where it came from. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. There's a question.
Hi, my name is Denzel from Urban TV. Great to have you in the country.
Thank you.
I'm curious about something. Recently we had, as Africa, a little situation, and I think it was very personal to you as a Nigerian, where with like the Republic of South in South Africa, there's a lot of back and forth between African artists, you know, aka back and forth with Burna Boy And, the whole continent was very passionate and very sentimental about, very emotional about it, rather. What do you think of it? You were very quiet about it. As a Nigerian, as an African.
I don't think you follow me on Twitter because I actually mentioned something about it, but it's okay. And you should follow me after this press conference.
If you follow back, I'll follow you.
It doesn't work like that, my friend. But I like your hustle. My opinion on it, I'm very familiar with the history of South Africa. I've been going there for years. I don't consider myself a South African, but I have family there. And my heart goes out to South Africans around the country because I know that the history of apartheid was a ruthless one. Also, the history of colonialism everywhere in Africa was one. So xenophobia was something that was created by colonizers to exist, not just in Africa, but in the African diaspora. Even African Americans have fears of coming here. But everywhere we go as a team, it shows African Americans and Caribbean Americans that you can go and travel in Africa and not be afraid based on what other people told you to believe. And that is what was at the crux of the center of that debate. AKA and Burna Boy are my friends. South Africans and Nigerians are my friends. Before we had any of these nation states, we had Africa Without Borders that was run by different ethnic groups and different tribes, as Europeans call them, and we continue to. Now it's a sense of glory for us. But I'll say that it all existed, so we always traveled around. We can't be caught up in the walls and the borders. We're more similar than we are different, and our differences are actually what makes us beautiful. So I understood the issue. I understand why. I've been to the neighborhoods in South Africa that those people that you probably saw on the news, some real and some fake, were expressing their grievances. I also know Nigerians that work and Zimbabweans that work. I know people from all across, from Uganda to Rwanda, that work down there. So to me, it's how do we focus on building countries and really a Pan-African continent that focuses on how we can invest in each other as Africans and not as this ethnic group or that ethnic group or this nation is that nation. God made this land abundant, so we don't have to fear for not having enough. If we ever don't have enough in any country or any city on this continent that is the most abundant on planet Earth, then it is our problem to solve. We can't blame anybody else, and we shouldn't blame each other for being on the air. The sky is big enough for all the birds to fly without colliding, my friend.
Thank you, Jidenna. We'll take one last question from the lady here.
Hello, Jidenna. My name is Sandra from House of DJs.
How you doing? Hey.
Good.
It's the homie.
So we are doing a lot of work on digital to push blankets and wine. And a lot of the questions that we've been asking is, has Jidenna family learned how to wine? Ugandan girls want to know.
Have I finally? What are you talking about? When I was 12 years old, I was whining on the ground. When I was 13, I was whining on the wall. Do y'all know how to whine is the question. And that maybe we'll find that out. I mean, I think that's an important question. I think here's the bigger question, because whining, for me, because I love and I appreciate and I'm attracted to women, whining revolves around women. What the bigger question is, have you as women learned how to whine around the patriarchy that exists on this land and everywhere on this continent and everywhere in the world? That's the more important thing. I know that, like, in the country that you're from, you have 65% of your parliament is comprised of women. Most of your industries are run by women, and the CEO of most of those industries, from airplanes to tourism to the automobiles in your country, are run by women. The question is, how do we as a society and as men who are threatened by this usually create a society where women are not seen as a threat, and how do we give access and just step out of the way simply so that we can make better countries? Because I do believe, and even if you're a businessman or a businesswoman, when women run a company or women run an industry, it's a more stable country. And Rwanda has paved the way for, I think, the rest of the continent. And I'm hoping that Uganda, Nigeria, Ghana, from all the way down to South Africa can do the same.
Thank you. One last question. Jidenna, welcome to Uganda. My name is Galiwa Nsonga. I work with one of the leading dailies, New Vision. And I have two questions. One is 85 to Africa. What does it mean to somebody that is first hearing about it? And then I understand you're on a tour. Can you just give us some what tour you're on?
Okay, so in Uganda, what is like one of the main highways that you have here, like freeways, highways? Entebbe Express Highway. You said Ginger Road. So in the U.S. we don't have funky names like that. Our highways are numbers. It'd be like 101, the 1, the 95. The 85 is a highway in the South in America. And it lands in a city named Atlanta, Georgia, which is the mecca for trap music, which is hip hop music, which runs a good amount of this world. Chances are you've heard a trap song. So it's a mecca in many ways. The 85 runs to Atlanta, and you could take a plane from Atlanta direct to a few cities in Africa. So I named my album The 85 to Africa, as in the highway or the route to Africa. It was very much a love letter to African diaspora, so people who are descendants of Africa but live outside. And my hope was that in creating this album, they would understand not just this album, but my mission is to create a highway, economic, spiritual, cultural highway from the diaspora to the continent and from the continent to the diaspora. We have to be a traveling people. We have to trade more. Africa only trades 10% of the time between the countries. 90% goes out. And that's why we suffer more than other continents, if you want to rate it. So these are the things I care about. In the diaspora, we don't trade much either. All our money goes outside. No other group of people does it as much as us. So that highway is very important to me. And to me, it should be important to all of us. That's our focus. And that's what I hope the focus of your head of state for years to come is. Once we build that, we'll be in a whole new world and a whole new territory and a whole new standard of living for all peoples of Uganda and beyond.
How many countries?
That is up in the air, my friend. We have a few countries that just popped up and were like, yo, let's do it. So we may start with 5, but end up with 10 very soon. I don't know yet. So far, I was in Rwanda. I was in Nigeria. I'm in Uganda now. I'll go to South Africa next. But there's a few other countries that we'll just have to close out some paperwork, and then maybe I'll be in there. I did perform in Rwanda. You people need to follow me. You have come as first, but now you don't know anything about it.
More than enough questions.
If you knew it, you would know now. And that's how I know. You say I'm a big fan, but one fan doesn't follow somebody.
Thank you so much. I won't take any more questions because in the interest of time, we are like far beyond time. So what we're going to have now is a photo op with the sponsors. So press, who are taking pictures, please, this is the opportunity. Southern Africa, and I have the support crew helping set up for the photo op. We'll have it against this backdrop, so get yourself set. You can push the seats behind and get yourself. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming to this press up. Again, the Blankets and Wine is happening on Sunday, the Aspers on Friday. You know where to get your tickets, you know where to secure your VIP tables and your cabanas. Let's come and have the time of our lives with Jidenna.